Welcome to High Level Techie Voice AI course. This is Jitin here, and today let's talk about advanced settings for your voice AI agent. So we have already discussed pretty much everything that you see on this screen. In the last video, we discussed how you can personalize your inbound and outbound call using a workflow. And today we are going to go a little bit in depth about the advanced settings for your agent. So let's go here and click on advanced settings. And this is where you can set up some advanced settings for your call, your agent behavior, and the voice itself. So now let's go into the call settings and see what you can do in there. So let's click here on call settings, and you can see the maximum call time can be adjusted from here. And very recently, the maximum time is not just 15 minutes. Now it can go up to 120 minutes, right? So which means 2 hours. And this is a perfect example why I'm doing a course for 2026, because even the latest voice AI course could tell you that maximum call limit is 15 minutes. But in high level, everything changes pretty fast. Now it is moved from 15 minutes all the way to 120 minutes. And that is a good news if your business needs require a longer call duration. So now you can set it up a minimum of 3 minutes to all the way to 120 minutes for your call duration. So that is the maximum call limit that you can set it up. So that is our first advanced settings. And now let's discuss about idle time and reminder frequency. So what is idle time and what is a reminder? So if you click here, you can read that the AI agent will remind the contact after a fixed time of silence during the call. So when the contact is not speaking anything and there is a big silence from the contact's side, the AI agent can remind the user to speak up. So the AI agent would ask things like, are you there, etc. After a certain amount of time. You can set it up here. So here you can see that if there is a 6 seconds of silence from the user, then the AI agent would ask the question, are you there, right? And now you can also increase or decrease this delay. So if you set it up to something like 1 second, then if there is a 1 second of silence from the contact, then the AI agent would say that, are you still there, or something similar. And we don't really need to set it up to a very small value, because sometimes people can think for 1 or 2 seconds, and we don't really need the AI agent to ask, are you there, or are you still there, or still with me, etc., etc., during that 1 or 2 seconds of silence. So you can keep it something around 6 or 7, or you can go all the way to 20 if you want to. And then when there is a silence for 20 minutes, this AI agent can ask that question. And here comes the frequency. So you can instruct the AI agent to ask this question 3 times during the whole call if you want to, by setting up the frequency as 3. You can go all the way from 1 to 5 during a single call. So if the user is silent multiple times during the call, this AI agent will remind up to 5 times during this call. So that is the idle time and the reminder frequency. So now let's go ahead and test this out. So I'm going to keep my idle time as 3 seconds, and I want the reminder frequency to be 5. So I'm going to click to confirm. And now I'm going to go and do a test call.
Hi. Just checking in. Are you still there? Let me know if you need any assistance.
Hi, I'm still here. Yes.
Great. How can I assist you today? Just a quick reminder. Let me know if you need help with anything. I'm here to assist.
I was just checking if you are reminding me about the silence.
Got it. Yes, I was just checking in since it was quiet for a bit. But no rush. Take your time and let me know if you need anything.
So that's how this would work. You can set it up the idle time to be 3 seconds, and you can see that the agent is reminding me about if I'm still there and things like that. So that's about call settings. Now let's get into agent behavior. And under agent behavior, this is where you can set up the response speed, interruption sensitivity, and LLM temperature for your agent. So now let's go one by one and let's understand what each of these settings would do. So let's talk about response speed. So if you click here, you can see it is talking about adjust how quickly the agent replies during the call, right? So the default is fast, but you can set it up to normal or moderate, or if you really want quick replies, you can set it up to fast. Ideally, what we are talking about here is the latency of your AI agent. If you want the back and forth between you and the agent to be fast, you set it up to fast. So that is the ideal situation in most use cases. And for some reason, if your agent is too fast and you want to tone it down, you can set it to normal. And if you want a little bit more time between the back and forth, you can set it up to moderate. So now let's try each of these settings and see how that would affect our call. But usually it will be very hard to find a massive difference between these settings, but let's try anyway. So let's set it to normal and click confirm. And I'm gonna make another call.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi there. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? How can I assist you today?
I'm doing good too. So what's the weather like?
Sure. Could you let me know the location you'd like the weather for? I'll check it right away.
Looking for the weather in Sydney.
I am checking the weather for you. I couldn't retrieve the weather details for Sydney right now.
So you can see that in that call, there was a delay of about 2 or 3 seconds between the time I stop my sentence and the agent starts speaking. So that is the latency that we are talking about. We have set it to normal. And for some people, that might not sound very ideal. So that's when you change that to something different. So now let's try moderate and see if that is any different.
Hi.
Hey, how you going?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? What's on your mind today?
I'm doing well too, thank you. So can you tell me the weather in Sydney, please?
I am checking the weather for you. I couldn't fetch the weather details for Sydney right now. Would you like me to try again or assist you with something else?
Yes, please try again.
I am checking the weather for you. I'm still unable to retrieve the weather details for Sydney. It
Okay,
seems there's an issue.
no, no, it's all good. I'm just trying to see if you can respond fast or slow.
Got it. I aim to respond as quickly and smoothly as possible while.
So you can see here also the delay is pretty similar, about 2, 3 seconds, maybe slightly longer. I can't really tell. And I hope you will see the difference now when we set it to fast.
Hi.
How you going?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Are you able to find me the weather?
Sure, I can help with that. Could you tell me the location you'd like the weather for?
I'm looking for Sydney.
I am checking the weather for you. I couldn't fetch the weather.
All right, so that is slightly faster. You can see that within a second or two, the AI agent is responding back. So that is why we set it to fast, because then the conversation feels natural. So for me, the ideal setting for response speed is fast. So I would prefer to keep it at fast. But if you think normal is your style, you can set it to normal, and there would be about 2 or 3 seconds of delay between the agent speaking again once you stop speaking. So that's about response speed. Now let's talk about interruption sensitivity. If you click here, you will see that it says control how easily the AI can be interrupted during speech. So you've probably seen in one of the previous calls, I talked over the agent and the agent took a second to stop speaking. So that is the interruption sensitivity. If you keep it too high, as soon as you say something, the agent will stop speaking. And if you set it to too low, whatever you say, the agent will keep on speaking. So you have to find the sweet spot where the agent will stop speaking as soon as you start speaking, but it wouldn't stop speaking as soon as you make some random sound. So that's why it's usually kept somewhere around 0.85, zero point 0.9, and such. But you can always test it out by going into the extremes and see how drastic the changes in AI agent. So let's keep it very low for now and try to see how that works.
Hi.
Hey, can you tell me a joke, please?
Could you clarify what you mean by send, tell me a job? Are you
Sorry,
looking for
I,
job
I'm
opportunities,
sorry. I
career
meant to say
advice, or
that.
something else? Let
Hello,
me
can I
know and
say
I'll do my
something?
best to assist.
I'm trying to say something to you. All right, so you can see that there's a bit of a lag when I start speaking and the AI agent stops speaking, right? So it goes on for like 2 or 3 seconds before the AI agent stops speaking. So I can't get my word in if I want to interrupt the agent. A human agent wouldn't do that. A human agent would immediately stop speaking and start listening. So that is why interruption sensitivity is very important when you are designing your AI agent. So if you keep it too low, you will have very frustrated customers because when they want to say something, the AI agent would keep on speaking and it wouldn't stop. So let's try now to keep it at 1, which is very high interruption sensitivity. So we are making this AI agent very sensitive to anything that we say. Sometimes it can be a hit or miss. So we will see how that goes.
Hi.
Hey, can you tell me a joke, please?
Sure. Here's one for you.
Okay, I changed my
Why don't
mind. So you saw that, right? So my agent stopped speaking almost immediately as soon as I said something. So that is how the interruption sensitivity would work. You can keep it to the default value, which is 0.85 or somewhere around this number for a good user experience. Now let's go into LLM temperature. So if you click here, it will tell you that this controls how creative the AI can be. So the LLM temperature can make your AI agent creative, or it can make your agent to stick to the script. So if you keep it very creative, the AI agent will be more creative. It will consider the prompt as a guideline and it would probably make up things and such. So a too high value for creativity is not recommended. And if your requirement is such that you want your AI agent stick to the prompt to the letter, you can keep it to a very small value, and then the agent will try to stick to the prompt completely, and it helps you follow the script and prompt as exactly as you have mentioned. Sometimes that can make your AI agent very robotic because it can give you the same answer over and over and over again. It wouldn't come up with anything new, so that can be frustrating for the end user. So keeping it too low is also not very good. So that is why you have to find the sweet spot for LLM temperature depending on your industry that you're serving and the kind of clients that you're dealing with and such. So usually somewhere in the middle, like zero point 0.5 is a good option. But if you are working in an industry that needs higher compliance, you probably want to keep the LLM temperature slightly lower. And if you're working in a creative space where you have more freedom, you can keep the temperature slightly higher from the middle. And depending on your requirement, you can keep it whatever you want, and then your agent will behave according to this temperature. Since we don't have a very solid prompt, we can't really test it out, but I'm gonna test it out. So the task here is, the prompt here is, your task is to tell a joke seriously, tell the joke in 20 words. Okay, so I'm gonna keep that as our prompt, and let's go and adjust the agent behavior, and let's keep the LLM temperature to 1 and click confirm, and let's try.
Hi.
Hi, tell me a joke, please.
Sure. Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts.
Okay,
Let me know if you need anything else.
another joke.
All right. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field.
Okay, can you tell me a longer joke, please?
Got it. Here's a slightly longer one. A man tells his doctor, Doc, I broke my arm in 2 places. The doctor replies, Well, stop going to those places.
All right, I want a little bit longer joke, please.
All right. Here's a longer one for you. A guy walks into a bar with a small piano under his arm and a frog in his pocket. He sits down, sets up the piano, and lets the frog jump out. The frog starts playing beautiful jazz music. The bartender is amazed and says, Wow, that's incredible. You could make millions with this act. The guy replies, Yeah, I know, but the money's not worth it. The frog owes me rent and eats all my snacks.
All right, okay. So that did not stick to the prompt. That was definitely more than 20 words. So now let's try to keep it to 0 and see if that works.
Hi.
Please tell me a joke.
Sure. Why did Joe bring a ladder to the bar? Because he heard the drinks were on the house.
Can you tell me a longer joke, please?
Of course. Why don't grave diggers ever get tired? Because they're always in the graveyard shift.
Can you tell me even longer joke, please?
Alright, here's a longer one for you. A man walks into a bar with a tiny piano and a tiny man playing it. The bartender, amazed, asks, "Where did you find this?" The man replies, "I found a genie who grants wishes, but he's hard of hearing." The bartender laughs and says, "What do you mean?" The man sighs, "Well, do you really think I asked for a 12-inch pianist?"
All right. Okay, so like I told you, you can't really see the difference because we don't really have a solid prompt to test it out. But if you had a solid prompt, you would probably see the differences. Now, since we only had one line of prompt and it kind of stick to the prompt, we can't really see much of a difference. But the idea is very simple. If you want your AI agent to stick to your prompt, you keep it to a smaller number, to a stable value. Or if you want your AI agent to be more creative, you take it all the way up. But usually the best practice is to keep it somewhere in the middle. So that is about LLM temperature. And now comes back channeling, and let's see what does this mean. So backchanneling means that the agent would say things like uh-huh, etc. during the call so that the contact gets validated and contacts feel that someone is actually listening, and it gives you that human touch. But in reality, sometimes this backchanneling doesn't really work that well. So I don't really use this much. Sometimes it can insert those backchanneling words at the wrong time and it doesn't even seem like human. So this is a setting that can backfire at times. So if you want to use it, feel free to use it, but only after doing a lot of testing. And as soon as you enable this, you will find a backchannel frequency. You can set it up to a low frequency or a high frequency. And then you can also insert the words that you want to use during backchanneling. Something like got it, yep, etc. So you can add your own list in here, and depending on the frequency you set, that is how much the AI agent will use it during the conversation. And the agent will speak these words if the contact is actually speaking for too long, and that's when this would come in handy. So if there is a longer call, you can actually test it out. I usually keep it disabled. Anyway, let's try to test it out. I don't really know what I'm going to talk to this agent for that long, but let's try it out.
Hi.
Hey, I'm going to talk for some time, and I don't want you to interrupt me, and I just want you to listen to me. And if you want to say something during that conversation, it's all good, but I'm keep on talking for some
Yep.
time. Oh, yeah, there you go. There you said that in 20 seconds. And
Yep.
um, okay, now you said that again, but I don't think it did not. It, and you can see that it doesn't mean anything. It's just making some sound, yep, and yep in between, and it is not following any context or anything. So that's why I don't really use back channeling that much. And it's
Hmm.
see that was not at the right time. So that is why I tell you back channeling is not a great option. So we saw that, and I'm gonna disable it. But if you want, you can enable it, and then this is how it would work, right? So that's about back channeling. Now let's go into voice settings. So we have done call settings and agent behavior. Now we have call voice settings. And in here, you can adjust the speed of voice. So it depends on the type of voice that you select. Maybe the voice that you selected is too fast, or maybe it is too slow. In that case, you can speed up the voice from here. So this is like an override switch. If you like the voice but it is actually slow, then you can speed it up, and if the voice is too fast, you can slow it down as well. It also depends on the industry. Maybe some industry would require a slower, calmer voice, and some industry would need really good energy. In that case, you probably want to increase the speed. So depending on your use case, this is how you can do it. It's pretty self-explanatory. We don't really need to test it. And comes the voice temperature. It's pretty similar to LLM temperature that we saw. If you keep it too high, it can actually create some artifacts that might sound unnatural. So it's not a good idea to keep it to a higher number. And even if it is emotional, it can actually create some random voices or sounds that wouldn't make any sense. So it's always a good idea to keep it to a lower number, or if you want a little bit more emotion depending on the voice that you selected, maybe you can increase it a little bit higher, but it's always a good idea to keep it to a lower number. A lower calm voice or a more stable voice is better than an emotional voice that can create unwanted artifacts during the call. So I prefer to keep it to a lower number or to keep it at the default number. We are not going to test it out because you can't really pinpoint the difference at all the time, and you can only find it out easily when it makes a mistake. And usually at higher number, you will see the agent making some random noise or things like that, and that's not a very good user experience. So ideally you should keep it to a lower number. And then you have a voice volume option. If the voice you have selected is trained on a voice data that has a low volume, then you can increase the volume here and the call will have a higher volume for that agent. And similarly, if the voice that you picked has a higher volume, by default you can tone it down by reducing the value, but it all depends on the voice that you have selected. And when you change the voice, when you select a different voice, you might need to change all these voice settings to match or suit that new voice. So that's all about the voice settings. Pretty self-explanatory. Now comes the background sound. If you want to give the caller the feeling that the call is actually being handled by a human agent and not by a voice AI agent, you can set up fake background noises. If you select coffee shop sound, the caller would assume that this call is actually happening inside a coffee shop. You can also select convention halls, some outdoor call centers, even a static noise. So the one main function for this background noise is to give you that feeling that it's actually handled by a human in their natural environment. For example, like in a call center or in an office or in a coffee shop and such. And the background noise also helps with latency. So if there's a delay from voice AI agent to speak, this background noise makes it normal and it doesn't feel like an uncomfortable silence. So that's another purpose for having a background sound. So depending on your business philosophies and how you want to present your AI agent, you can select a background sound or you can keep it blank. That's totally up to you. And that's how you set up the background sound. Now comes the noise cancellation mode. There are two modes. One is to remove noise and one is to remove noise and background speech. So if you select remove background noise, it will select the background noise when the caller is speaking and it can isolate the speech coming from the user. And if you decided to remove noise and background speech, it can ideally work well, but in some cases it can actually backfire as well. In some cases, it can actually lose some of the transcript because it's actually removing some of the speech as well, along with the background speech. So you have to be careful when you are selecting these options. And if you go to Retail AI, you can actually read through how Retail AI is actually handling background noise cancellation. Retail is what GHL is using in the backend. So you can read through this if you want to understand more about noise cancellation inside GHL. You can see here, remove noise. This is a default mode that removes background noise. This has nearly no distortion to the waveform, thus does not have an impact on the speech to text accuracy. But if you are selecting remove noise plus background speech, this is a more aggressive mode that removes both background noise and background speech. This might distort the waveform, so it can result in lower speech to text accuracy in certain cases. So, which means that if you are going for the more aggressive remove noise plus background speech, in some cases, if the person is actually in a very crowded place and there is so much distortion coming from the source, it can actually distort the waveform or the speech that is coming through, and it will affect the transcription, and hence a wrong input can come inside the prompt and the whole conversation can go sideways. So if you are selecting this option, you have to be careful, right? So that is all about the advanced settings for your AI agent. And for some reason you want to reset all this to default values, all you have to do is click here and it will reset to the default value and you can start experimenting all over again. So that's all for today. I hope it was helpful. I will see you in the next one. Thank you and bye.